Good morning. As you're joining, if you could please put your name and school district in the chat, please. And we'll get started here in a few minutes. Rhonda, I think somebody dragged a screen over. I can't see your presentation.
That's me.
There we go.
Do you have the attendance document as well?
Yes, I will start taking attendance.
After we get started.
Yeah.
We'll wait a few minutes for folks to join. Also, Jenny,
Yes.
Our halfway mark for this one, we didn't give a time. It is 9:40.
I was gonna ask that. But I was like, probably right, probably shouldn't now, but thank you.
Yeah. See? Can we do?
Think alike.
Welcome, everyone. Please put your name in the chat as you're entering. And also, please know that we're going to start in just a few minutes. We're going to give a few more minutes for folks to get into the meeting. We'll probably start at, well, probably one more minute. What do you think, Ashley?
Yeah, I think at 9:05 is good.
Okay. All right. Are we ready? Okay. So for those of you who are on here, this is a presentation put together by myself and Jenny Galloway. We are both on here to present today about attendance supports. And I want to take just a minute to introduce myself and also have Jenny introduce herself. But first start with just some structure. We have Ashley Harzen, who's going to run the chat for us. And she's also going to kind of give reminders to you as participants. And we are going to ask that you participate. So make sure that you are ready to participate and interrupt us anytime when we're presenting. If you have questions, if you have comments, put your ideas in the chat. You can click the hand raise, or you could just interrupt us. You can unmute and interrupt us. So my name is Rhonda Smith, and I now work at the Intermountain ESD. I am a former Pendleton School District employee who worked there for 30 years as a teacher, counselor, and principal. And I retired, and now I work 3/4 time at the ESD doing supports with administrators. I coach administrators, but also partner with Jenny Galloway in attendance supports and other things, Oregon Data Suite, professional development for staffs, things like that. So Jenny, do you want to share a little bit about you?
Yeah, I'm Jenny Galloway. I'm the new student school safety prevention specialist for the Intermountain ESD. Previously 30 years with Umatilla County as a supervisor for the Umatilla County Care Program. I do multiple different things, as does Rhonda. I cover the crisis fight team for the suicide role. I am the truancy court supervisor for Umatilla County. And I'm losing my train of thought. I'm sorry. I'm the behavioral threat assessment person for the Intermountain ESD. Anyway, my passion for attendance goes back to 2022, probably before that. I worked closely with state legislatures. We were missing 35,000 kids after COVID. So I worked to create a House bill with Bobby Levy, trying to push through initiatives for attendance. So I'm here today with passion for this subject. So thank you for joining us.
You're muted, Rhonda.
This is why we have Ashley, because I was muted. So to get started, what we want to do is kind of go over the meeting expectations and also talk about what we're going to talk about today. So to make this hour worth your time, we are going to ask that you jump in and participate. You can click the raise the hand, you can unmute to share or question anything. If you have questions, if you have comments, if it triggers a thought about practices that you do and it's relevant to what we're talking about, your input, you're the boots to the ground right now. And so your input is really important in this category, in this topic. And you can also type in the chat. Ashley's going to be monitoring that for us. Put your ideas in the room. When we ask a question or we want something, I'm going to give about a 7-second pause. That feels like some people think 7 seconds, that's super fast. And other people say but it feels really long silence. So I'm going to give you about 7 seconds, but I'm hoping that someone will jump right in and answer at 4 seconds instead of 7 seconds. And as we're going through this presentation, please constantly think, how would this look at my school? How does this look in my classroom? What could we do to improve some attendance practices for our students where I work?
You muted it again for some reason.
Oh, okay, here we are back again. Okay, so for today, thank you, Ashley. Today, we're going to talk about the difference between regular attendance and ADA, which is average daily attendance. A lot of schools talk a lot about the average daily attendance of their school, average daily attendance of their classroom, and maybe the average daily attendance for a student. And that is a relevant number. It is important. But we're going to talk today about what regular attendance means and the impact that has for your school and your students. So we're going to look at the differences. We're going to talk about Oregon attendance expectations. We're going to look at some local attendance data from actually some of your schools. We're going to talk about the difference between yellow and red zone interventions, especially in the area of root causes and empathy interviews. We probably won't go into a lot of empathy interviews today, but just talking about the why students are absent if they're really starting to fall off of what we expect. The green zone, we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about some practices that you could have at your school. And we have those categorized for you. And so thinking about, again, going back to thinking about how does this information impact me in my school? And then what staff can do to support student attendance. And then at the end, we're going to say, out of all this stuff that we're talking about today, here are the biggest takeaways we hope you take away from this session. This is the biggest thing. So let's dive in. Regular attendance versus average daily attendance. So understanding attendance measures in Oregon as defined by the Oregon Department of Education. Regular attendance, and I really hope that you're thinking about this while we're talking about this, like regular attendance is the percentage of students at your school. It's how many kids attend 90% or more. So I think of it like a bucket. So if they attend, if their percentage rate, their attendance, their average daily attendance, if a student has an average daily attendance of 92%, they've missed a few days here and there, but they're here 92% of the time. They're in the bucket and they are a regular, what the state of Oregon identifies or defines as a regular attender. Okay, and we'll get into why this is important in just a minute. But you need to be thinking what percentage of our students for our school is here 90% or more of the time. So if we had something like this would show that these students are here 90% of the time, and these students are here less than 90% of the time. This could be 89%, but it's still less than 90. Then your school would have a 75% rate of 90% or more. Average daily attendance is average of all of the students' percentages put together. You average all of them. And this is what the average attendance rate of your school is. And it's done day to day. And then it's done at the, you can do it for an individual student. You can do it for your whole school. You can do it for a classroom, but it's the average daily attendance put together. So the difference, again, regular attendance is the percentage of your kids who are here 90% or more, or the average daily attendance. Okay. Now, we're going to get into the what the Oregon Department of Education says about regular attenders, or about all students. So if a student has high attendance, if a student has high attendance, they're in the 90%, then this is our well done. This chart is actually on the Oregon Department of Education page. And their high attendance leads to improved high achievement, which is a greater chance of success. If they're so in order for them to be in the green zone, where you're going to hear us call it the green zone, if they're 90, they have to be 90.1 or better. If they're 90 to 80, they're in the yellow zone. If their average daily attendance is 90 to 80, they're in the yellow zone, and we start worrying about these kids. What we do know is students who come to school 90% or more of the time are more likely to read at grade level, are more likely to be socially and emotionally stable, have strong relationships, follow the directions, because they're here the majority of the time to understand the expectations and the routines and all of the things that happen at school, conflicts when they're lining up to go to music, all of those things. They get much more practice when they are here most of the time. So If they're here, then we have a serious concern. If they're 79 or below or 80 or below, then we have a serious concern. And one thing that I sat in on a meeting one time where a family said, "Well, I don't see what the big deal is. My child's getting a C in attendance. They're here 78% of the time. They have a 78% attendance rate." Okay, that tells us that this parent doesn't understand the difference between percentages when you talk about grades and percentages when you talk about attendance. That we're actually, the state of Oregon and our schools are asking for students to attend 90% or more of the time. And when we are talking about attendance, we can still respond to attendance just like we do reading, just like we do math, just like we do um, any kind of behavior supports. So you do think of a triangle for your MTSS triangle, let's say, for, and I know this says academic and behavioral, but in the state of Oregon, the behavior is coming to school. Attendance is actually considered a behavior. And this is how we look at attendance supports. Students that are here, we have core instruction. Students in the 90s, we have, excuse me, we have incentive programs. We're recognizing students who are here. They're gaining more information and doing better in school, those kinds of things. Students who are in tier 2 need a response. This is for some of your students. We do need to respond to these students, and we need to try and figure out how to get them over into this bucket. The tier 3 kids, we have to be intensive. And when we're talking about those kids, we are talking about really getting some tier 3 support, some intervention that's more than just send a letter. Letter 1, letter 2, letter 3. We've sent 5 letters. We're going to talk a lot more about that and about what's the cause of this student missing, what's happening here, and then how do we match our response with the reason they're missing. So we'll talk about those things. Next slide is when the Oregon Department of Education chose 90%, not just because they wanted to pick a number. 90 sounds clean. There's actually a ton of research around this. There students who are here 90% or more are more apt to graduate from high school, are more apt to have social and emotional mental health regulation. They're more mentally stable. They have strong relationships with their peers. They're more apt to read on grade level, and it kind of makes sense. I mean, if a student is here, they will get the instruction. If they're not here, they won't get the instruction. And probably all of us know what it feels like to be gone from something and everyone else has been used to being there. And now you've been gone for a certain number of days and you now join. And it's real uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable for those kids sometimes. And they might not act like it is, but they're like, I don't even know what we're talking about. What is the story for the week? I don't know, because I wasn't here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week. So making sure that we understand ODE didn't just pick 90%. It's because it's what the research shows, that we aren't just saying, hey, get your kids here 90% or more of the time because ODE says so, because it's going to make our report card look good for our school. Yeah, ODE does say so. Yeah, it is going to make our report card look good. But what it boils down to is your students are more apt to be more successful. They're more apt to be a stronger learner when they are here, and a better friend to their peers when they're here 90% or more. Okay, pause for a second. Any questions? Or that's kind of a lot all at the beginning, like regular attendance versus daily attendance. So regular attendance is that 90%. What percentage of your kids come to school 90% of the time or better? And then the why they chose it. Any questions here or comments? moving on. We're going to talk then about, this is data now, and I hope you can see this. Like, if you can make it big on your screen. But this is a district from our region. I went into Oregon Data Suite and I pulled their data, and I think it was on Wednesday. So I had it prepared yesterday, but I pulled it on Wednesday. I did hide the district just because I think what's relevant is not which school it is, but what these numbers mean. And Jenny and I can go in and pull this data for you anytime. We can pull this data for your school, for your team, anything. But what we did first was we looked up the district. So here's all the schools in this district. And again, this is regular attender rates for the district and the schools. Our regular attender rates for this district is 74.31%. Now, when those school report cards come out, there are many districts that are like, why is our percentage so low? We kept having, this is actually their average daily attendance. Oh, we posted on our building that our district has 91.63. That's the average daily attendance. That is not their regular attender rates. So this can be deceiving sometimes if we're celebrating 91% of our kids are here today. That's a great celebration. I never want to squish that. But you can't forget that your school is judged and your students that are going to make the most progress are the students that are here 90% or more individually. So in this district, 74% of students are here 90% or more of the time. Okay. Well, then what I did was I clicked on, let's look at 81% is the elementary schools. So I clicked on 81% here and for the elementary schools, and it broke it down by the 4 elementary schools in this district. So it says, if you look, you have 4 elementary schools, and they each have a different regular attender rate. These are elementary school B has 67% is 67% of their students go to school 90% or more of the time. So we can break that down then. So then I just chose elementary school C, which is 73%. Okay, elementary school C, I clicked here and it brought it by grade. So in this elementary school, here are the grades that their regular attendance rates. Let's have a guess. So you can see what their attendance rates are for all of their grades. This is their regular attendance. Who's here? I know I keep repeating it, but I want to bring it home. 90% or more of the time. So 70% of second graders at this elementary school are here 90% or more of the time. Okay. Here's what I want to ask you. I want you to make a guess. This is where I want you to write in the chat. So get ready with your chat. I want you to write, guess in a whole district, kindergarten through 12th grade, K-12, across the state, across our region, all of our schools, when I keep looking them up, there are 2 grades that have the lowest regular attendance rates. Guess what they are? Put it in the chat. What grades have the lowest regular attendance rates? In kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. What 2 grades? If I can watch the chat too. Do we have anyone entering? Ooh, Amy says KN1. Kindergarten in 5th is another guess. Kinder in 1st. You guys are good. You guys are good. You're getting it right. What do you think, Eddie? We're waiting for Eddie. 1 and 2. Great guesses. It's actually both ends of the spectrum. Kindergarten and 12th are the worst attendance rate or have the worst regular attendance rates. So you were right, Kinder. Kinder is the lowest. And typically, when we're talking about that, we are not talking about kids. It's not really kids that do not want to come to school. It's not kids that are not getting to school. It's usually we're having to talk to parents about this. And we're talking to them about how to get them to bed. And we're talking to parents about how to make sure they're the why of why they need to come to school and all of the things. And 12th graders are pretty much, they're seniors, they're done. And their attendance rates start really dropping. So we're going to talk about some of those things, but thank you for sharing in the chat. Okay, at this time, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to hand it over to Jenny Galloway, who's going to continue sharing. Continue with the next part of the slides.
Can you see my slides, Rhonda? Everybody?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, we can see your slides just
I'm
fine,
kind of a rookie. Bear
but
with me.
you do want to put it into slideshow mode, probably. Yep, just click the word slideshow. There you go, girl.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry, Judge, practice that. Okay, so what we're gonna do from what Rhonda's been saying is go over to where you see the big yellow sign. Basically, we populated the statistics that Rhonda had from the screen before. And what we're seeing obviously here is our students of concern down here with the red, and then we have 15 in our yellow, which is over here. But this, we didn't circle this, but this is all of our green. So yay, we have like 55, 60 kids that are over here in the green that we're going to use some interventions we'll be talking about later in the slide. But right now we're talking about our yellow. And you guys gotta wait for it because there's exciting things about this. Research shows that there is one thing that we can do for these kids in the yellow. And that is one positive thing about the student in class, current attendance percentage when you call, one personal thing about the student. So one positive thing. Hi, I'm just calling to tell you that I really like how organized Sarah is when she comes to her desk. She comes in so excited from recess, but she just comes in really organized once she sits down. Current attendance. She's at 88 right now. I want to let you know that. And then one personal thing. She told me you guys got a dog last week. I think it sounds like it's a lot really cute. So that's the one thing. So when we're going to go into how do you identify the yellow, and maybe you already know your yellow kids, but this is pushing our kids in. We're going to say, here's our green. We're bringing our yellow kids into the bucket. And then here we have red. We have some reds that we haven't gotten to yet, and they're going to get a phone call. But the one piece that can move your kids all over here, the 15 all into the 60, is one phone call. So that's kind of our plight today on our middle kids, because they're the ones that research is saying is the one group that is the easiest to push to the green. And it's pretty simple. When I say simple, for some of you, it's very uncomfortable, and we're going to get into ways to help with that. But any questions about that so far? Is anybody doing one phone call in Morrow County? I see I have some Morrow County peeps on here. So is anybody doing one phone call a month in a red or yellow? You can do a raise hand. Okay. So we're going to transition right in here to look at the trends. I don't know if you, raise your hand if any of you have this in at your school. Because when Ron and I come to your school, we're going to talk about this. But if you have seen this before or something like this, and you might have seen it in behavior, this is for sure attendance. But if you haven't seen it, I'm going to walk you through it. In September, we have 80. I'm going to go just to the very first child, who is C at the top. We have 82. We look at October. We have 88. Look at an opportunity right here to make a phone call. I mean, right close to the 90.1. Then, they dropped right into 63. Like, what happened? Did they move? Did they get sick? That's a huge drop. And then, okay, we're at red. So when this one phone call happens, you're probably going to get feedback from the parent as to maybe what's going on. Maybe not, because everything seems great. By November, but what has happened? So the inquiry happens, and that's the root cause. And we're going to get to the root cause. Then we go down here to you. Let's slide down here to you. We're at 100 in September. We're in the green zone. They're coming in. They're doing great. They dropped to 90. Like, this is a little alarm should kind of go like, whoa, we're right on the edge. And then we're back to 86. Phone call, right here, phone call. And then we're down a little bit. Their average is 91, but we're still making a phone call here. How do we keep dropping? You know, was it influenza A? Was it a move? Was it a divorce? So this is something that we hope you have in each classroom, parked to your child's name. So you'd have your student name here, your grade, and you could just go through your students at a glance on this piece, and then you're going to know who they are. But I think the full year, we've talked about this a lot. The best trend is the yellow's looking right at us. Where are we seeing the yellow? But if they're knocking, like we're looking here at L. If they were green, we're making a phone call. I'm going to use the word tanked, but that's tanked. They dropped all the way to 63. But then look at, this one probably got a phone call. Maybe it didn't help in November. We don't know what happened in November. But then in December, we're back up to 93. And then we're higher than we were. So we have the rest of the year. It hits January. We have the rest of the year to get them back to the green. So any questions on that? This is something we have found to be a really vital tool for all of you, and we're hoping to get that implemented in all districts.
I do want to say something about that chart, if I can. So, like, looking at those percentages and then the total number of days for each month. That's not a cumulative. It's not a cumulative until you get to the year to date, the YTD percentage, like that's a cumulative, but those are per month. So if you go back to the student you were just talking about that was yellow, student L. Student L started at 100%. Then in October was yellow. And hopefully, like you said, they got a phone call, right? Hopefully they got one positive phone call. It's not even a phone call to say, oh, your student's falling behind. It's a phone call to say, I just love having your kid in class. That's the research. The research is just one phone call that just says, I love having your kid in class. Hey, by the way, their attendance is at 86.4. Just letting you know. But I sure love, like, it's one thing. But then the next month, it didn't work. So they dropped into the red. The message I'm hoping is what happened in the red is these people got together and said, guess what? The phone call didn't work. So now I know we have research that says that it's supposed to work, but it didn't. Now we have to go to a root cause. Now we have to put in an intervention because guess what? The issue was, and I'm making something up, once we figured out the reason this kid was gone, maybe it was transportation. Okay, well, they were tanking in November because the transportation was still an issue. We got to the problem. We had meetings and then we got it figured out. And guess what? In December, they're back up to 93. we help them resolve it. That's what I'm hoping that story is. Because the yellows are one positive phone call. Once we're in the oranges or the reds, we're getting it. And I know she's going to get into root cause. I just wanted to
I'm
kind of
glad you said
frame
that,
that.
Rhonda. I appreciate that because this would be in person. So I kind of jumped to one that you're having parents come in. We got to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a, Rhonda just did a great segue to where we're going. So we're gonna just kind of right here on the cusp of yellow into red. So we're gonna we're knocking on the door here. Some of these are the one phone call, and then some of our kiddos bounce right here. So Ashley, I think is gonna link the root cause in the chat. So definitely I'm gonna draw it up here in just a minute. These are the titles of each of the categories here. I think this would be very familiar to all of you. And I'm going to pop it open here and kind of go through it. I'm not going to go through each line, but I'm going to point out some important pieces. The other thing is this might be a sheet that's used on your attendance teams. Maybe this isn't your role specifically in your school, but I also think everyone should look at it because it really gives some good tips to be mindfully thinking of what's going on with that individual student. But we're going to go through it because if you're doing this, and I hope you are, some of it sounds like it comes from you. Like, does the student have language or communication challenges? They might not think they do, but you do. So circle the yes. List those here. Maybe like they have trouble introducing themselves during a presentation like Jenny Galloway did today, and you just write that in here. You move down your safety concerns, any reports of bullying. Maybe you're like, they say they do. They say like it's after school and it's through a text, and you might be thinking, well, it's after school, so that's not something to put. Yes, please put it on here. Yep. They're saying they're getting text at night from so-and-so. At least it's indicated in here that it could be a reason. I've also had people say, well, they were bullied 2 years ago, but we've had no reports of bullying. If this is what the parent or the child thinks is going on, still put it in. The other ones are pretty self-explanatory. I still say if there's no room, write it in. Home situation. Are they going back and forth between two different homes? Are they there when they're at mom's house, but they're not there when they're at dad's house? Are we making the phone calls to both homes? Or are we just going to the first person on our contact list? So those are things that are just really important in this root cause that is kind of a deeper dive, but I wanted to share them with you today because they really help when this form gets done and you maybe pass it off to your school counselor or your part of the attendance team. When you bring it in, you have gold right there in your hand. You have a story. Dropping down to student voice and parent voice. When we have a kinder, we want to hear the parent voice, right? When we want to hear the student voice, of course. But if the parent is like, my child's getting bullied when they get off the bus every day, put it down. That's theirs. That's something for you guys to discuss as part of your attendance teams. If you're not having attendance teams, we're going to come talk to you about that as well. So I'm bringing up attendance teams as if you have them. Any questions about the root cause so far? Has anybody seen it? Raise your hand if you've seen a root cause or heard the term root cause. Okay. Fabulous. All right. Okay. Any questions? Rhonda, did I miss anything in with us?
No, I think that's exactly
Okay.
what we were
I'm
talking
gonna stop
about.
sharing.
Okay. And now back to me. Um, this is where we were, right?
Yep.
Okay. So, one thing that we wanted to talk about that really is important. It's critical. Oh, by the way, I didn't say this at the very beginning, and I should have. But any slide that has a star that looks like that on it, that looks like this, is going to be one of our. This is a huge piece of information. If there's nothing else that you listen to today, it's like so the slides that have those stars on them, like this is critical information because all I did was take this part of this little infographic right here and made it big right here because it is the key to attendance. We can talk about transportation issues or someone's being bullied or all of those things, but the number one factor that impacts student attendance is school culture, the school culture. And we sometimes we just think about school culture as being happy or being safe or being, but it's in the area of attendance, there are really 5 areas that we can really be intentional about in creating a sense when it says right on here, when students feel a sense of belonging and connection, they are more likely to want to come to school. And so when we're talking about those green zones, when we're talking about intent on purpose practices, when I say intentional, it means it's planned. Your whole staff knows about it. You're on purpose doing things. Everyone's on the same page. And these over here are the 5 categories that you can be on purpose about in your school, in your classroom. Maybe you don't have impact over what happens school wide, but you do have impact about what happens in your classroom. We're hoping, Jenny and I, like she's already said, we're hoping that all of the counties that IMESD, all of the schools that we serve, will have attendance teams and will be very intentional in doing these 5 things so that they can really start gaining more supports, getting more kids at school 90% or more of the time. And the why isn't just because it makes our school report card looks good. It's because kids will learn better, be at grade level. Like you're going to hear me repeat the same things over and over because that's really the why. Okay, so the categories are welcoming culture and celebrations, warm greetings, safe environment. Do you have an attendance? There are awards and celebrations for good attendance. Do you have an assembly and say, if you're in the 90% club, please stand up. These are the students who are here 90% or more of the time. Do you have a popsicle party on Fridays for any students or the class who has the best attendance rate? Do you have competitions? Do you have just awareness, any kind of recognition? That's what the welcoming and celebration culture is in the area of attendance. So remember, this is all framed under the umbrella of attendance. Now, awareness is the next one. Jenny and I have been going around to schools and we are opening up, like, we would love to come to your school. You just have to invite us. We do a quick talk to staff. But attendance awareness is like yesterday I was at a school and I said, do you know, teachers, what your students' percentages are? Like going back to that other chart, I'm just going to go back for just a second. Like, do you have a chart like this? Do you know that student B in your classroom or student R in your classroom, that this is their attendance rate? So first, is the teacher aware, right? But then the awareness of the student, does the kid know? Because there is research around that too. What is your current percentage? And there was one school that they showed, I think it was out of Portland, and all they did was once a week, the kids had to open up something on their computer for their profile for the school, and it had an attendance percentage in the corner, and they had their little Chromebooks, they opened them up, and the teacher came around and the kid said, had to show the teacher, my attendance rate is 92%. And what is yours? 87%. What is yours? And they just quietly did it. But they had to point to it and just tell the teacher what their attendance rate was. The teacher had a chart of her own, but that was one little quick practice of kids knowing where are they in that attendance part, in their, what is their attendance rate? And we're not trying to make it public or shame anyone. If someone's in the 72s and they're at school, we're not going to make them announce it in front of the whole class. That's not building a culture of belonging and connection. If we're ridiculing kids, we don't want to do that. We want to keep that confidential. But at the same time, what we want to do is make every student aware. Do they know? Do their parents know? And do their teachers know? So awareness is another piece. Communication.
Rhonda, I was
Yeah.
just going to jump in really quick because I had another one to add to that.
Yeah.
With what you were saying, but in Hermiston, and this could be in your district as well, they post their percentages on their front doors daily, and it's work because they've said their secretary does that. And then I would go in and out of the buildings and kind of give them bad time. I'd say, gosh, West Park is at 92. And when I went over to Rocky Heights, you guys are at 87. And they're like, we've had the flu in our building. But I thought it was a great thing for parents to see as well. It was the messaging going in and out. And you noticed it because it changed. It wasn't the same every day. So again, a universal support just from the front door of your building idea.
That is great information. I've also been in a school where they put it on the front, outside the classroom doors, and they would do it by week. So, and they would just put at the top of the little poster, just a print off, like just a piece of paper, but it says like March 1st through 6th, attendance rate for Mrs. Smith's class was, and then it had and again, that's average daily attendance. But we use that. We just use it in a different way. We use it we wouldn't give our regular attendance on the outside of the door. We'd give average daily attendance, which is totally fine. It's part of the awareness. Is it on your reader board? Those kinds of things. Really good example. Thank you, Jenny. Communication. Two types of communication. So research shows, number one, communication to parents, and that should be your education messages. Did you know statements for parents that if the 5th grade teacher and the 2nd grade teacher in a school are giving a newsletter that goes out that month, they're giving the same, they are so on the same page in that school that in their newsletters that go home to parents, that has the same message. Did you know more students are likely to graduate from high school if they attend school 90% or more of the time? And the message is the same across the school. Some of you may have heard messages from superintendents on the radio. It would be the same message. The school, like the office area would have it posted. Like, you need to be educating families and telling them why. So messages to families, and then motivating messages to students. We love it when you're here. We miss you when you're gone. We're all of like when you're here, you get to participate in more activity, whatever it is. So communication has two strands. And then the last two are like, it's about your attendance teams or looking at data and making sure you have a regular system for attendance that is calendared and ready to go for the whole year and intentional on purpose. So monitoring and responding to data. I'm in this section right here. Review the trends. This is what Jenny was talking about in that other chart. Looking at supporting students that are starting to become at risk. Ooh, I've got someone in the yellow zone. I'm going to make that one positive phone call. I'm not calling to lecture the parent. I'm not calling to, I'm just calling one positive phone call. That usually bumps them right over. And then the last part is identify and support chronically absent. And this is your team meetings and your intervention plans for your red zones. So again, going back, what's the number one factor that impacts student attendance? Number one factor, it's positive school culture, sense of belonging and connection. It's the number one. This is a lot of words. but it's the exact same thing. It's welcoming culture, it's awareness of the data, it's communication, and it's monitoring your data. That's what it is. So it's the same as that picture chart. It's just in words with a little more description. But again, it starts with positive school culture is the number one factor that impacts student attendance. Students who have a sense of belonging, connectedness, and experience positive relationships at school are more likely to want to come to school. But it's the same thing for parents. So parents who have an experience where they have positive relationships at school, parents who feel connected to the school, parents who have a sense of belonging. I'm not uncomfortable walking into my child's school because every single time they treat me the same as everyone else, no matter who the parent is, no matter if it's a parent who had come in to the principal and really let her have it about how she, excuse me, how they feel about something that happened. I'm still going to be the professional and greet that parent the next time they come in with kindness and respect, because no matter who it is that's walking through our doors, they need to feel like this is a school for their child. And even the adults need to feel like they are treated the same as anyone else and have a positive experience at our school or relationships at school. So it's critical that we have that. Attendance awareness. This is in the awareness area, but this is also like, again, these are the same categories as what we just talked about, but your attendance team or in your classroom, if you don't have an attendance team at your school, teachers can do this in their classroom. Make a spreadsheet, title it by month, and make a plan. This is evidence that you're being intentional. You are on purpose going to have activities or practices that promote positive welcoming culture in September. And what are you going to do? What is the culture in your classroom that you're going to hold yourself to? This is your checklist. And then what are you going to do in October? What are you going to, and this might be the same all the way across. It might be positive and welcoming culture. I think of two things that are like low-hanging fruit that teachers probably do all the time anyway. Greetings at the door. You're going to greet your students at the door when they come in. Good morning. Good to see you. I know a lot of them will do the handshake or the fist bump or the salmon or whatever it is, the greeting that they do at the door. You're going to have that. And number two, maybe it's an opening routine where you say, you take attendance and you say, these three students are absent, and let's take a moment to wish them well. Our three students from our class family are gone today. Let's take a minute and just think about them and say, I wish them well. And we're thinking about them. Instead of saying, well, we're not going to be able to fill out our chart today for 100% of our class being here because we have 3 kids gone. That's a completely different culture in the classroom. And that sets the tone for your students. Because if that is the response, hey, we had these 3 kids are gone again, so we don't get to fill out our chart. And then those students return back, there will guaranteed be some kid sometime that will say, well, we didn't get to fill out our chart because you're never at school. And that doesn't make that kid want to come back. So thinking about when you have an intentional plan for the year, what are the on-purpose practices that you're not only doing as the teacher, but you're training your students to do? Having that positive culture is critical. Then what is your plan for posting attendance rates? Are you going to post it on your door? Are you going to do in your classroom boys versus girls? Sometimes you have to be careful with gender. Little caveat, like you have to be careful. Know your people, right? Maybe you're going to do, I saw a group, a classroom that they clustered birthday months, and they had a competition in their classroom for this this is awareness of what is your percentage, but also this is a recognition or incentive that they had 1 month where they did like January, February, and March birthdays, boom, all together. And then April, May, and June, those were a team. And then they had different teams and then they just did that 1 month, and they took the average of their students whose birthday months were clustered together. And the team that won got popsicles one day at lunchtime. They got to come have lunch with the teacher at lunch. I don't know. You can do all sorts of things. They get a sticker. I mean, it could be anything. But having that awareness of what is my attendance rate, and teaching kids why they should be at school. They're going to learn more. Messaging for families. Anyway, this is just a chart of how to organize yourself. Be planned and ready. Know what you're going to message. This is messaging for families. This is educating them. What are you going to say in September? What are you going to say in October? If you have a school team, you're going to follow theirs. If you don't have a school team, you're going to make up your own for your classroom.
I was going to jump on that one really quick, Rhonda, just to piggyback on what you're saying. But some kind of fun things that we have seen in our tours of school that could just be in culture for the whole year is we've had really competitive teachers with other teachers. Like there's a really big trophy, and we're going to get the trophy every month. And so part of that could be in September, win the trophy, October, win the trophy, win the attendance trophy every month. And that's what your class culture is going to be. And you even make a platform for that trophy because you're going to win it. And so that's a green zone. Thank you, Rhonda. Moving past your place. But I think when you think about it at the beginning of the year and you're setting that tone, that's something easy. I think we're looking for easy practices on the whole year. The other piece is some of our schools are only 4 days a week. So then we have kids not coming on Thursdays because they're off on Friday. And we have a lot of things going on Thursdays. And one of our schools started doing incentivizing on Thursdays, and a little kinder got mad at his dad. Like, you didn't get me there, and then I didn't get to be a part of ice cream day. So, that's kinder, where it is the parent choice, like Rhonda, like we keep saying parent choice. But if we can promote through these activities, we're going to get our kiddos reached out to their parents going, get me to school. I have to be there. So that's a universal system. Like every Thursday, we're going to do something like that. The other one was we had a school that noticed. They said they did a big goodbye line to the buses, and they noticed that was great, but they shifted it to the morning to welcome, and they did big welcomes. And when they got there, they danced for 5 minutes and did a welcome dance, because then kids wanted to get to school to be part of the welcome dance. So I'm just going to give you a couple ideas there that Rhonda's I probably just shoplifted her stories, but I just thought of them and brought them up. So back to you.
No, I really, I'm not going to read all of these. Some of these are self-explanatory, like the hallway hellos using student names, but these are universal systems that could be done in the elementary school. These 3 graphics that are to the right over here, this is actually from an elementary school in our region, and they use this. So these are bookmarks. These 2 are bookmarks. And they got these in their report cards. And if they got this one, it's congratulations to our awesome little buck for making school a priority, and put your attendance star water bottle sticker here. And so they had a sticker in there, and they got to put it on, and then they got to have this little bookmark because they're in the 90%. Yeehaw, you're 90% plus attendance. This one, they didn't get a sticker. They still got this, but it says, remember, 90% is our goal. Every day matters. And then it has a little fact. Good attendance helps learn to read. And it's just a reminder for them that we need you here. So this was something that was completely separate. This was a what did she call it? Campaign.
That was an
Like a campaign to, because what they were finding was kids were first of all, their car line is huge. Secondly, kids were coming a little bit late because they were being dropped off in cars. So they were like, we need more kids riding the bus. And this is mostly a kindergarten focus, but we need more kids to ride the bus. So they did this campaign, skip the drop off line, ride the bus. Safer for them, easier for you, fun for everyone. They had music on the bus drivers were part of it. And then it says, we're making the bus the best way to start the day. It's time to rethink the morning commute. And then if they rode the bus, they got this little keychain with a little yellow bus that was on their little keychain that they could hook to their backpack because they were a bus student. And if they were already a bus student, they got one too. Anyone who rode the bus got to have a little bus keychain. Oh my gosh, kids were begging to ride the bus, telling their parents, and the parents were like, oh, I really want to take you. And the kids were like, no, I want to. So it did make a difference. Kids started coming on time. Their attendance got better. All of those things. So right
the
now,
other genius thing to that is the car line fees, like Rhonda says, can bottleneck onto a busy road. School districts get complaints. The other thing, a lot of parent fights and inappropriate collaboration happens in bus lines waiting for kids. So as part of your school culture, it shifted probably 3 different things with that
yes,
campaign. So
absolutely. Would you be willing, anyone be willing to unmute? And if you don't want to unmute and talk, I understand, but maybe share some things that maybe aren't on this list. Either put it in the chat or unmute and share maybe what you've seen at schools or what you've experienced at your school. What kind of attendance incentives, recognition, um, rewards do you have at your schools or have you seen?
I was just gonna
Beth?
mention one thing that I used to do as a classroom teacher is kind of using the buddy system, where if you have kids that are really good friends and maybe they have a friend that has poor attendance or is struggling with their attendance, is having that friend be the connection to, like, I want you here, and kind of bringing them into that conversation and having them be kind of a positive motivator, like, help your friend get to school and let them know how much you want them here and that you miss them playing at recess. And it was another way to motivate the littler kids. And I would think it could work with secondary students too, honestly, because of the social aspect.
That's genius, because they did pilot that at Clara Brownell and saw amazing increases in the percentage from the buddy system. Great
Yay!
idea.
They even had one school even had a kid text their friend like use their phone to text their friend and say, okay, where are you? We miss you at school today. And they were already partnered ahead of time, so they knew they were going to get a text. Like it wasn't like a surprise or, who knows this kid? We're going to talk about him in front of people. Like, it was planned. Again, being prepped and planned and being intentional and out front with, this is our plan moving forward. Now, would I suggest that you have kids text other kids? Probably not. That's probably, like, there might be a parent who's like, seriously, now my kid's pressured to have a phone at school because you want them to. No, we have to be careful. But a buddy system is good. A buddy system is a great, especially if you have good friends at school. I want to see you. I want you to be here. There are the attendance trophy is always fun to announce over the intercom of the whole school which students or which classrooms or grades or whatever has the best attendance percentage. But these are just some universal systems that we wanted to talk about. Okay, so here we are. We're near the end here. we talked about regular versus average daily attendance. And if we were in a room live, I would be asking y'all to define what's regular attendance. What does that mean? And hopefully y'all know it's the percentage of students who are here 90% or more of the time. What is the Oregon attendance expectations? It's 90% or better. I do need to go back on that note just real quick. I want to go back to this slide for just a second on that note because, oh, I skipped it, didn't I? This one here. This is for second grade only on this slide. 70%, this is 70% of their students are here 90% of the time. And the rest of them are just chronically absent, according to the state of Oregon. The rest of them are just chronically absent. But when you break down these numbers and you put it right here, actually 15 of them are in the 80s. And Jenny talked about that. What is the number one way to get the 80s into the 90s, into the bucket? And she talked about that. How do we get this kid into the bucket? This is the 80%er. One phone call, a positive phone call that makes your mama heart go, oh my gosh, someone does like my kid at school. And we don't get those as parents very often. Okay, anyway, going to the end, let's go back. We talked about some local attendance data and looked at that. The yellow zone, that one phone call, and the red zone, some interventions and getting to the root cause. What's causing, what are the categories that might be causing this kid from missing? And we didn't talk about empathy interviews, but that's that part of the root cause worksheet that Jenny talked about that was like the student voice. And this is where you have a trusted staff member ask them questions and say, hey, sister, why are you gone? Like, what's going on? And that
And I think when we
cause,
come to your school too,
Yeah.
we do talk about that.
Yes.
There's a deeper dive into red zone. And we absolutely wouldn't want you to feel like we didn't really talk about red zone kids and that's our highest need. We never forget red zone kids. And the empathy interviews are significant. And we tend to be biased sometimes in our red to yellow, and sometimes we tend to get desensitized and we don't see that root cause has shifted, and it can shift very rapidly. Again, wanting to come to you to talk to your team about that so you can think of it as when you're sitting with your school and your school culture.
yes. We talked about the green zone activities and then what staff can do to support their attendance. And then our biggest takeaways. And if you get nothing else, please leave today with these. Positive school culture is the number one factor that impacts student attendance. That's positive school culture. That's that welcoming piece. That's that treating every kid every day, no matter how annoying they are, with the same greeting as every other kid. I'm so happy to see you today. Every kid, every time. The root cause, which is we used to just say, okay, the student's been absent too much, let's send a letter. But now we're saying, no, we need to, I like Jenny's term, dive deep into, let's find out what is the reason, what's the cause, what's the reason for this kid being gone? And then let's put something in place that matches that reason. So, and remember that root cause can change. Maybe 1 month it was transportation. Maybe the next month it was influenza A. Maybe the next month it's I'm arguing with my boyfriend and I hate coming to school. I mean, it could be any of those things. And then the last biggest takeaway that we really hope you like brings it home. And when we go out to schools, this to me is something that teachers can do. And that is the number one response to the 80% students, any kid that's in the 80% zone of that's their average daily attendance is from 80 to 89% or 90%, is a positive phone call from a staff member who really knows their kid. That's the number one response, is someone's going to make a positive phone call about my kid. We're here to help if you want us to come. We're here to come to your school. Anything else, Jenny?
I don't believe I have anything else. No, I've appreciated your guys' time today and hope that there was some takeaways. And feel free to reach out. We'll be reaching out to you as well. And if you do an attend dance or a dance party, please email us and let us know. It'd be fun to hear back from you. If there was one practice that you took back to your school and you tried, that would be really fun. So thank you. Thank you for your time
If
today.
you don't mind anyone sharing, like it doesn't matter who it is, like one takeaway from today that you're like, okay, this is one thing that I'm gonna practice, I'm gonna start doing, or that this is one thing that now I really understand that I didn't understand. Would you guys share? Out, unmute. Ashley, did you get something from it?
There's one in the chat. How important making one phone call can increase attendance.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh,
kind
I'm
of
so
what I
glad.
was thinking. Yeah.
The power of
And
the
that-
one phone call.
Yes. And as a parent, sometimes I'll get messages on the Parent Square app but phone calls are great too, but something positive is always nice.
And personal, right? Something positive and personal that's really not just really like having your kid in class. I mean, you can say that,
Yeah.
but if it's something personal and something like specific where you can say like they really participate, they get so excited during math. We're doing math right now and they are loving like something that's specific about the kid.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you saying that, Amy, as well. And I'm thinking you might see this at AC Houghton as well. Maybe that's just me and years of doing home visits and sitting in meetings with parents at school. I'm going to tell you the calls home will help parents like their child more. And they're going to help them like the school more. We want to mention the school, but we had a principal in your county that called home to say something kind. And the next day the child came back and said, "Why'd you tell my mom that?" And it was a nice thing. And he goes, "Because I believe it to be true." And she goes, "Well, I just thought it was weird because my mom took me for ice cream and was really nice to me." And this child had been struggling with behavior. So it was the one nice thing. And it kind of just made us all like, geez, that's kind of cute. We made a family connect over a call. So that's piggybacking on this plight today, but it really is meaningful work.
All right, you guys, thank you for coming today.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thanks for running our chat, Ashley.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
See
thank
you
you.
later.
Ash.
Bye.
Bye.